Hey, beautiful souls. It has been a little bit since I've done a StreamYard into the YouTube channel, The Wake Up, and I needed to come back and do this episode for the full moon today in Gemini and kind of discuss and dive deeper into what does that mean? What's it look like? How's it going to feel? What opportunities is it going to bring for you? So I want to start off if you're asking, what is this music in the background? It is shaman drums in a specific frequency for the day. If you are not using the lunar cycle to heal and further expand yourself into your awakening journey, you are missing out. But you don't need to know the information yourself. You can use astrologers to help teach you the information and understand your own natal chart and just the energy and day-to-day happenings and how this impacts you. And that's what I'm here for. My name is Ashlee Escobar, and I'm the owner of Angelic Love and Light. I help people experiencing high levels of stress and past traumas create more balance in their body, mind, and spirit. Go ahead, check our website out at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to subscribe to our email list or download our app and become a site member. So we're going to dive right in because there's a lot to talk about. And Gemini energy makes you very talkative and very communicative, especially for the higher wisdoms and the higher knowledge and being curious, getting curious. So first of all, it's important to remember, if you haven't watched the basic video of what a full moon represents, go to the short videos. In there's about a 15-minute video that will explain the full moon. It's important to recall that a full moon is about endings and completions and the end of a lunar cycle before we start another one. It's both equally important to release and manifest for both a full moon and a new moon. And a full moon is illuminating your subconscious mind in your emotional body. Not everybody is going to feel the energies the same. There's going to be some themes and concepts, but it doesn't mean that it's going to apply to everybody. It's also going to hit you a little bit differently because depending on where it is in your natal chart. So a lot of people hear full moon in Gemini, they think it only impacts Geminis. That is far from the truth. So first of all, the moon is in Gemini because it's opposite Sagittarius, and we're in Sag season. And so the energy from the moon, which represents all of our emotional bodies, is in the sign of Gemini tonight. And actually it happened at 4:16 Eastern Standard Time this morning, but it will present full yesterday night and today. It's actually only full for 1 whole minute. But I like to do my ceremonies after the energy has already peaked, not before it's peaked. And it's going to last throughout the day because this is a very deep or last throughout the week, excuse me, because it's a very deep and powerful, impactful full moon. So not only is the moon energy shining down on us in that Gemini energy is kind of impacting all of us, it's also somewhere in your natal chart. And if you haven't had your natal chart, go ahead and get my sale that I'm running right now, $87 for the rest of December on your natal chart. It is the gold mine to help you have self-awareness at a deeper level and also gain some information to help you on your healing journey as well. So Gemini energy, when I talk about any sign, I like to talk about the contrast of the energy, and I like to talk about the balance is what you're always striving for, because if you focus too much on the contrast of either side, right, you're getting engulfed in something that may not help you, may not make you be your best self. And that's what it's all about with healing, awakening, and expanding your own consciousness. So deeper in that natal chart is Gemini for you somewhere. So check out your natal chart if you've had it done with me. Also check out where your moon is because that's going to impact you as well. And so Mercury is the planet that rules Gemini. Mercury is the planet of communication, journeys, sibling connections, creativity, mental intelligence, interests, hobbies, etc. And so this planet of Mercury, not only do we have a full moon tonight in Gemini ruled by Mercury, But Mercury is in pre-shadow for the final retrograde of 2023. It went pre-shadow as of Saturday, the 25th, and it's not going to happen for a few more weeks. And we're going to actually go into 2024 with a Mercury retrograde. Now, if you're saying, oh no, that is a really egotistical, fearful, limiting belief system that you have that you kind of need to get over so that you can utilize the energy to help you. Because if you really understood what retrogrades were about and what it's asking you to do and where it's shining the light for you in your journey, you wouldn't be saying, oh no, you'd be saying, oh yes. And so right now, a lot of people are mentally overstimulated. Their brains are going a mile a minute more so than they usually are. And right now, because of that pre-shadow energy due to retrograde, they're not all accurate thoughts, even more so when a full moon is creeping up. So what happens is leading up to a full moon, you can feel it ahead of time. I was feeling it even last week. I was observing it in other people last week. And what happens is what surfaces to your subconscious mind that never shuts off is old experiences, old wounds, childhood experiences, generational experiences, and your own emotions that you have suppressed or you are avoiding or not releasing. And then your emotional body will have certain things happen that you're like, why am I thinking of this all week long? Or why am I feeling this emotion all week long? This is the stuff that's being illuminated by the moon's light being closest to Earth, shining on in your own life, kind of giving you clues of what needs to be looked at. And when you look at it, you need to discern what it's trying to show you. 90% of that information is trying to show you lessons that have been completed, things you need to let go of, mindsets and perspectives that you need to shift so that you can move forward. If not, if you take these same things that keep surfacing to your mind into the future with you, you are holding yourself back. You are being a block to you. And I don't know about you, but I will never allow myself to be a block in my life again. So I work really, really hard, and I help others to do that for themselves, to not be a block. We have to acknowledge it. We don't need to feel bad about what's coming up, but we also don't need to get engulfed in it, okay? And so I want to talk a little bit more about the Gemini energy before we continue. Gemini is known for a lot of duality. There is no deeper duality than Gemini energy. And this is kind of symbolic or metaphoric for the duality that exists in all of us, which is our ego and our authentic self, our dark and our light, our higher consciousness and our lower consciousness, all the things under these two, which then equals into this duality. What you need to strive for is the healing, which represents the balance. And then the balance allows you to spiral up and out so that you are less of your lower self and you know how to navigate the lower self to be more in your higher frequency, higher conscious self during this human experience that you're having, because we're spiritual beings. And all this wisdom is kind of connected to the innate wisdoms that are in the positive matrix, that when you're going through your healing journey, you kind of relearn things your soul already knew, but you were programmed by society to not know this information, to program it, to block it based on how you eat, what you do, the busy life, living on that rat race hamster wheel. Okay, and so Gemini gets a bad rap because they kind of have like this thing where people think it's bipolar or two personalities. In a sense, it is kind of like two personalities, but what the twins represent is adaptability. They are able to, or should be able to, based on their energy, adapt in any kind of energy. And if they are not balanced as a person, that does kind of present like bipolar, and it does kind of present like multiple personalities. So all week long, you could have been thinking certain things, but having the contrast play out in your mind. Now, for some people, that's very abnormal, so they feel out of control within their own thoughts. It's happening like that to show you something, to bring you wisdom and lessons within the information. Okay, so really, Gemini energy on a positive scale is supposed to help us to become more adaptable, to go with the flow, to face any situation as it arises. As long as you have balance and you have all your tools and modalities, you'll be able to face anything, okay? But now we want to talk about some things that kind of are on the negative side of Gemini to understand why we need balance and how it may be playing out for you and how to cross that bridge and get to the other side. So with the mind being overstimulated and Gemini's really liking conversation, sometimes they can get so distracted by too much communication or not handling their priorities and overstuffing their schedule and having too much communication with others. Distractions can actually happen in the form of your mind, because your mind plays tricks on you guys, but your heart and your soul never will, and your intuition won't ever. And so people also are distractions. I know it's funny because a lot of people wouldn't realize this unless they are microscopic, like detail oriented the way I am in about it. So I'm going to give you an example. I woke up to, it kind of started last night, I woke up to lots of extra communications that aren't usually on my plate, if you will. And balanced me had to say, priorities first. I don't allow people to distract me, and I don't let my mind to distract me, because that's going to get me off balance from what I've worked so hard for in the last 9.5 years. So listen to this message and apply it to yourself how you need to. Because if I would have gotten into conversation with this person right away, and if I would have answered this person, and just certain things weren't priority, and then there was a call that I had and it was priority, and I did need to stop what I was doing and handle that. But what I'm getting at is there's lots of extra stuff because people are getting this chatty energy within them, almost like they've had stimulants and they just want to talk, or they're venting a lot and airing stuff out. And everybody needs to respect everybody's boundaries and being okay with if you don't get replied to right away, because what will happen, you'll end up on that negative side of the Gemini traits if you take on too much of that. You'll get off task. I know, like, teenager me used to do that all the time. I would have a schedule for the day and I would go answering everybody's texts, everybody's calls, and by like noon I'd be burned out. I wouldn't have any of my own stuff done. And you got to stay on track. It's up to you to keep yourself. Also, Geminis will overbook themselves and do too much. That is the worst thing you could do at times like this, because your emotional body is going to get stressed out. Then your mood is impacted by that. Your sleep's impacted by that. And it's just a domino effect, okay? And so watch the distractions in form of your own mind and people. And also, it's interesting, there's a lot of sibling stuff coming up, whether it's good and bad or just reflection, right? Because nothing truly is good or bad. It just is, right? But it has more connotation of one versus the other, and you want to get to that neutral balance. Habits were a big theme with this moon. So Geminis can actually, the opposite side of them, and all of you tuning in have the other side of you. It was that toxic side of you, the unhealthy side of you, the egotistical side of you, the doing things of lower frequencies. There were a lot of temptations leading up to today and into the end of the week of escapism with old addictions, drugs, alcohol, porn, sex, self-sabotaging your normal routines and workouts, talking, gossiping, slander, passive aggressiveness, like that sly, fucking sarcastic humor, because these are things that a very low frequency Gemini presents like. And So get back on track with your habits. Be aware of yourself. At the end of the day, you can't control, and nor should you want to, any other person other than yourself. And you're modeling to your family, your kids, and those around you what you are and what you aren't going to stand for and what your boundaries are. Also, the throat chakra is very activated. And when I say activated, a lot of people's are overactive and a lot of people are under. The throat chakra is only really truly balanced if you're constantly doing energy work on a consistent level with a Reiki practitioner, with a crystallite sound therapy, with sound healing, those types of things. And so throat chakra, an example of being overactive, you could just be venting and airing out too much stuff. You could be using words and language that like you really need to take a pause and think about what you're going to say because you can't ever get words back. Underactive is not speaking up enough, not voicing something, thinking something doesn't matter or that the person doesn't matter. So you may feel some energy in your throat, tingling, kind of like a sore throat feeling. You may feel less hungry. You may feel more thirsty. So pay attention to where the energy is in your body. Regular energy work and healing work in the modalities that I mentioned will help to balance that chakra, because at the end of the day, we do want to get our chakras balanced. It's one of the things that helps us raise our frequency, be in the present moment, be neutral, be balanced. The people that are the signs that are gonna feel this the most, and it doesn't mean that you won't feel it if I don't say your sign. You also want to look at your sun, moon, and rising when I mention these. So if you're a Gemini or Sag, you're gonna feel this energy more intensely. If you're a Virgo, you're feeling this energy more intensely. I have had a wave of Virgos, whether they're coming to me intentionally or observing Virgo things from many Virgos that I know, that shows me they're struggling with this, and I can kind of pinpoint why, but I don't want to target any specific signs. Cancer and Pisces. Now you asked me why Cancer and Pisces. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so we are impacted by this one a little bit more. And for a few other reasons. Pisces, because there's a specific transit with Neptune and the moon tonight, and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So these are the signs that are going to be feeling it the most in your sun, moon, and rising. And ultimately, what you're being asked to do is face your fears, okay? The person that is scared of, is fearful, is your ego. And I need you guys to think of your ego in a loving way. Your ego is your wounded inner child. Your ego is that little girl that needs to be reparented and loved unconditionally and make connections and have understanding. And that's scary, right? It's your inner child, but embrace it so that you can become even more your authentic self by embracing transitions and growth, because that is beautiful change, all right? Some other things that may have been coming up leading up to this week is gossip, scandals, soulmate connections. Soulmates can actually be family, friends, and lovers. Karma, a lot of karma, because Geminis kind of play a little bit of karma in the zodiac signs. Confusion, especially with that Mercury pre-shadow. Your mind is playing extra tricks or feeding into things that are your wounds or your egos. So it's really important to get extra clarity, ask questions, don't assume and make an ass out of you and me. Lots of duality, like I said, those counteractive things. Like one person's like, I was angry 1 minute and then the next minute I'm crying. Like, what's going on with me? You are not crazy. That is not a thing. energy is real, and if you slow down, you can learn how to manipulate energy and how to work with your own energy and the energies around you. Boundaries, huge boundaries. So boundaries are really being tested or attempted. At the end of the day, nobody needs to memorize your boundaries other than you. You need to do what's you. That's why I didn't choose to answer anybody back that didn't need to answer back today, because I don't even talk to people regularly today on a full moon. So they'll live. They'll get a message tomorrow when it fits in my schedule, because time is flying, guys, and a lot of power struggles, endings and new beginnings, because that's another duality. Anger, frustration, and adaptability. There may have been situations that arose leading up to last week and now this week that are requiring you to. So I saw somebody post, she was getting so frustrated at how she wanted a situation to go and how it didn't go that way. And then she comes to Facebook and she like dumps it out. And I'm like, see less, first of all. But what I recognized was the energy was reminding her, you're not in control and you need to be a little bit more flexible and you're not the boss of everybody around you. Chill, take a chill pill. Plus, their sign, sun sign, is a more emotional sign, so she's not regulating her emotional body. Regulating your emotional body does not mean to not address it, not feel it. It definitely does, but you also need to regulate it, and you need to control it and balance it out. If not, you can be very overwhelming and a little bit I don't want to say too much, but others won't get it because they have more control and regulation over their emotional bodies, okay? This is a very, other people could choose their words, but I'm very cautious with words. This is not intense by any means. The words that I would use to describe this moon are deep, okay? Deep, because it's asking you to dive extremely deep, and the depth represents your duality, which is a deep, powerful topic. But Gemini's like that conversation with self and other people to help them gain new perspective, new wisdom. So maybe you find yourself a little bit more resistive to hear new insights, or complete opposite. You are willing to hear new ways of thinking, okay? It is a heavy energy, but heavy doesn't always mean bad, guys. Heavy means that the energy is actually felt. You can feel a Gemini full moon, because a Gemini full moon is not a compatible sign for the moon to be in, but it's very transformative. So it is heavy. And then it's powerful. Why is it powerful? Because it presents so much knowledge if you allow it to. A lot of people just don't know what to make of the clues that surface, but you're being asked to actually review your situations that have happened last week and this week, review your emotions, review your thoughts, and try to connect it to things. Don't try to figure out the why. Connect it to where in your life it's connected to, and notice the pattern that it keeps coming back around, in which patterns it's coming back through, and with what people, and then release it, okay? Put your ego aside and just know that put your ego aside, but be, how do I say this? Without sacrificing your own boundaries and your own healing. Sometimes people have no idea the amount of work that you've put in, and just one conversation with the wrong person can throw you for a huge woozy and like really do you in. Hanging out with the wrong people, partaking in the wrong stuff. You've got to really put down the living two lives. And I want to say that everybody kind of does this until you're hyper aware of it and you choose that I only need to live one life. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes you're saying you want one thing. The goal of your higher self is this, and it looks like this. But sometimes you're saying, thinking, and doing things that don't match the life of this person and what you want. So you need to release the things that are not compatible with your highest goals, because this ego self runs back to the comfort zones, even if they're bad and they're harming you, okay? You need to get prepared. The whole rest of the year is very intense in a good way. And you need to make arrangements for yourself to be able to adapt to change. Okay? New information and also new situations. If you do that, you will be fine. All right? So, what's one way that you can start? I'm going to give you like 3 steps on how to start releasing some of this. First of all, sit down with pen and paper and write down the emotions that have been coming up, what experiences that have been coming up that are really hard for you, okay? And any connections with your past in your childhood, or if it feels like it's connected to mom or dad. And then I want you, number 2, to do a release list. And you can do this ceremony in any kind of way, as far as doing, talking to anybody like I do, using meditation, using candles, using crystals, using all the things, guys. Or you could just sit down with pen and paper and then release it using your own words. And sometimes I don't like being asked, like, how do I say it? Because you're getting too literal. You need to just acknowledge that you need to release it and you want to release it. And at the end, write, and so it is. Put that out into universe, because universe is powerful. You are literally thinking and speaking your creations of experience into existence. And that's powerful. But not only are you, the company you keep around you are, your environments of your workplace, your home, your car, your friends, your family, all the things. And so if you can't release somebody fully from your life, maybe they need a lot more boundaries, and maybe you need to get better at acknowledging what boundaries they need. I am going to give you some journal prompt questions to think about that I also gave my members to kind of reflect on for today's full moon. And then we are done talking about this beautiful topic, because I want to keep this right under 30 minutes. So the first question is, what delays are you having in life? Contemplate. It may take a very non-traditional way to get these delays taken care of, or that it's not the time for it to happen. Okay, and it's powerful to have to realize, like, maybe I want this, but maybe spirit doesn't want this. Maybe spirit acknowledges that this is not right for me, or the timing's not right. Number 2, what are you getting frustrated with or need more patience with? Geminis have a tendency to get really impatient, or be too patient in a way that they're hiding, masking their emotions, and then they're talking shit behind your back, or they become explosive with it because they take in too much of what they don't believe in and they just don't agree with. Number 3, how can I go after my desires responsibly and practically without force or doing too much to get it? Number 4, what have you been losing sight of with the bigger picture, and how can you stay motivated through your self-discipline? Okay, Geminis are so guilty of not sticking to a discipline and kind of just like not caring and doing too much, and then before you know it, they're like upset about their weight or their lifestyle, or that they're not in the right job or career, or the business they started isn't doing good. You need to take a look at yourself. There's a mirror in the moon, and it's trying to show you your own stuff. Number 5, what do you need to release from your daily habits, lack of discipline, mindsets, old programming, childhood wounds, generational wounds, seasonal patterns, people, including the distance for those that need more boundaries in place? Number 6, lastly, what in your day-to-day life does not support your bigger picture goal? Universe sees all people as living 2 lives on this, and lives, one that supports and aligns to your desires, and one that self-sabotages, makes excuses, and gives up. Making yourself aware of your own patterns that conflict with what you say you want versus what you do is essential. So those are just some journal prompts to help you navigate what's coming up to your own subconscious and emotional body. And stay tuned for more. I will be dropping a Mercury retrograde video and all the rest until the next year, because I think it's important. You guys can utilize this information to help you heal and to grow. Lots of love and light.